Pope John Paul II, a video project by Peter Hearn, Brendan Lewis, and Solomon Ghiazzi.
Early childhood. John Paul II was born Karol Wojtyła on May 18, 1920, to parents Karol and Emilia Wojtyła in Wadowice, Poland. He was the youngest of 3 children. When he was only 8 years old, his mother died of kidney problems. 4 years later, his older brother Edmund died as well. These deaths took a very big toll on Karol's life. He carried this picture of his mother with him for the rest of his life. He was very outgoing and excelled in academics and had interests in sports such as soccer. Teenage years. As Karol grew older, he had growing interest in the dramatic arts, such as rhapsodic theater. He wrote and acted in many plays. He also assisted his local church by altar serving in Mass. During his teenage years, the Nazis invaded Poland. He witnessed many of his Jewish friends, as well as acquainted professors and political leaders, get deported to concentration camps or killed viciously by the Nazi invaders. He and his father fled to Krakow, Poland. While in Krakow, he enrolled in a university that displayed Nazi propaganda, which he strongly refuted. In 1941, Karol lost his only remaining family member, his father, who died because of a heart attack. He later said of this, "At 20, I had already lost all the people I loved."
Karol's vocation. Karol realized his vocation shortly after his father's death. He joined the seminary in autumn of 1942. He attended illegal seminary classes while working at a chemical factory. The classes were run by Krakow's Archbishop Adam Safia. He spent the duration of the war in the Archbishop's palace, disguised as a cleric. He later said, as Pope, that seeing so many priests murdered showed him the real meaning of the priesthood. In 1946, he was ordained as a Catholic priest. While studying for the priesthood, Karol also worked in a coal mine. The miners held a great love for him and allowed him to study while they took his shift. Karol chose to say his first Mass alongside his childhood priest and friend, Father Filewicz, at the Wawel Cathedral crypt, with dead Polish monarchs and rulers. In 1939, the Nazis in Poland were replaced by the Soviet Union, and although the Soviets were less cruel to Catholics than the Nazis, they still held public contempt for them. He studied for 2 years at Rome and received his first doctorate. He studied examination of theology, and finally he became a professor at the University of Lublin. During this time, he would often take his students and friends into the wilderness to kayak and camp in order for them to discover God and nature. Karol managed to impress church leaders with his ability to evangelize and teach with the communist restrictions. Pope Pius XII appointed him Bishop of Krakow in 1958. Just 5 years later, he was appointed Archbishop of Krakow.
Pope John Paul II. In August 1978, Pope Paul VI died, then was succeeded by Pope John Paul I, who died only 33 days later. The Vatican then elected Cardinal Wojtyła as Pope because of his ability to unite others. On October 22, 1978, Pope John Paul II introduced his famous motto, "Be not afraid." He references a biblical passage that announces the presence of Jesus Christ and calls for Christian courage. It was also the forefront for his nonviolent human rights campaign. Pope John Paul II was famous for his teachings on morality and the theology of the body. He also published the Catechism of the Catholic Church in 1992. In November 1979, he traveled to Turkey to meet with the Eastern Orthodox Church. In Turkey, he expressed his desire to lead the Soviet Union out of Eastern Europe. This sparked a hatred of Soviet leaders against him. The Catholic people of the Union desired this as well. About 2 years later, an attempt on his life was made by a Turkish KGB agent. Near the end of his life, John Paul II experienced many health problems, including Parkinson's and deafness. And at the age of 84, in April of 2005, he died of septic shock.
Conclusion. John Paul II is regarded as the most beloved and famous pope of the modern age. His cheerful demeanor helped spread Catholicism to the youth across the globe. His teachings on human dignity and theology of the body were revolutionary. His frequent travels were unprecedented by any pope, and his human rights campaign left an indelible mark on the world. Even after death, he still affects the world through the international event World Youth Day. St. John Paul II, pray for us.